Good day to you. Welcome to One-on-One with Amakhosikazi, the first in a series of programs that seeks to give you an insight into those women that are doing great work in their communities, locally and globally, about their lives and the way they are touching lives to change humankind. My name is Busi Bhebhe and I'm your host. I'm honored today to have in our studio the first guest for this program, revered and celebrated Zimbabwean woman, Jennifer Lizzie Ngulube. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
very
honored
much.
to have you as our first guest on the program.
I'm also honored to be the first one on the program.
So when I first heard about you, it was through a poster that you were coming to Bulawayo to talk to women and about an honor that you had been given internationally by none other than the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, which makes you an MBE from what I saw on one of your posters where you were talking. And when I researched further, the MBE stands for Member of the British Empire. Can you tell us what that means?
What it means, getting an honor from the Queen, there's different awards that you get. The one that I got, MBE, stands obviously for Member of the British Empire, which basically in layman terms means being the extended member of the royal family, which gives us sort of some privileges.
What kind of privileges does it come with?
I won't go into many, but one of them, I'll let you know that my daughter got married in the same church that Prince Charles and
Wow.
Lady Diana got married in. So those are some of the privileges.
Are there any duties that you are assigned within that post?
Yes, obviously I carry the title, so I'm a representative in the work I do, in the way I conduct myself of the royal family. So basically, it is it's a privilege, but it's a big responsibility as well.
So tell us now, you are there in the British Empire as a member of that big institution and network, but you're from here in Bulawayo, and you emphasize that Usesibomvini. Tell us about where you come from.
I was born in Esibomvu, which is a very small village in Esigodini, where I grew up and have very happy memories from my childhood there. Very basic childhood. We didn't have toys. We were very simple kids. It was the beginning of the war of liberation when I was born. So our childhood was torn between playing and survival. So we learned to survive as kids because of the environment that we grew up in. But if I were to say, those were the happiest times of my life because life was carefree and I had adorable parents, good friends, and my siblings were plenty to play with, 8 of us, so we had a rich childhood.
You have a book that you have written that tells your life story. I'm going to share it with our viewers as we go along. And you talk about how your grandfather was in the inner circle of the kings, and I'm thinking now you're in this inner circle of Queen Elizabeth. And I'm trying to parallel these two things. Your grandfather being in the inner circle of a king in Africa, you being in the inner circle of a queen in Europe. What do you think divine destiny or intervention is doing there?
To be honest, I think it's just divine intervention. I, for one, didn't know growing up that that was our heritage. I only discovered that when I was in the UK. Actually, that's when my father told me this is your heritage, which is obviously. I don't know how to connect the two, but the coincidences are quite astounding.
So now you are a Zimbabwean honored in the UK for the work you do in the UK. Can you tell us what it is that got the attention of the Queen, the work that you do?
I work with very disadvantaged children that need nurturing, children that would have gone through some different levels of trauma, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. These are children that basically need someone to make them believe life is worth living for. Okay. So I get kids that are literally, almost despairing, who need a very soft approach to sort of give them back that base of motherhood, of love, to start to believe in themselves again. So that's the work that I do. These are children usually taken by the Department of Social Services, sometimes from their parents, or sometimes children who travel to the UK unaccompanied without relatives or parents, or they get separated along the way. Sometimes children travel as far as Somalia by themselves and things go wrong on the way. So I do get a lot of children that are in very dire emotional states. That's the work that I do.
Was that a calling for you, or it's something that you discovered along the way of your life?
I will say it's a calling because, I mean, initially I went in as a special needs teacher, and that's a job that I thoroughly enjoyed, but somehow through my own personal struggles, I got drawn to children who are in difficult circumstances. Part of that is obvious because of my own childhood. I'm almost always drawn to a person or a child who is struggling because I've not had an easy life myself. I'm very grateful for where I am, but I don't discard where I come from. So I sort of try, and if I can, I will offer my hand to a child or whoever else needs a hand. You know, when you've suffered pain, if I look in the eyes of someone who's suffering, I can connect. So I sort of use that ability that I have within me to make the other person feel better. So I'll say it's a calling.
What is it about your background which, though difficult, you say were some of the happiest times of your life? Do you think prepared you for the kind of work that you're now doing in the UK?
Much as my childhood was fairly happy, I mean, I talk about the time when my mother was taken ill when I was 12, and that was a very defining moment because my mother had to be taken away, and I had 5 siblings that were younger than me. Our dad was working away from home, so basically I became a parent at 12, and tried the best I could to walk into my mother's shoes to make sure my siblings were okay, waking them up, getting them ready for school. So I started to be a parent at 12. And it was a very difficult time, but it also was a very character building time because I think it made me the person I am. I find it very easy to connect to children because I think I started at a very young age.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you've come across working with children? What would you say has been your biggest test case?
I think the biggest challenge is if you're working with children who have suffered trauma is children show how they feel through their behavior. They won't necessarily sit here and tell you this is what's happened, but they will show you in their behavior. They will behave in very, very challenging ways. So the biggest difficulty or challenge is dealing with children's challenging behaviors. But it's also understanding why they are showing those challenging behaviors, because that's the only way they can express themselves. So I think I'm lucky in that respect that I can sort of manage to deal with children with challenging behaviors. Some of the skills I got from my special needs teaching are very useful because we're talking of children self-harming, children wanting to end it all, children absconding. I'm almost always at a police station because something's happened. So there's a lot of challenges, but you've got to be ready for them.
So in the book, you also touch on your cultural heritage and how it's something that you hold on to and treasure. And knowing the West, our culture is very different. We are more communal, where our background is one of helping each other as a community, whereas in the UK it's individualistic. Everyone keeps to themselves. How have you taken this communal culture to the UK to afford you the ability to accept children that are not your own, to be like your own, and to live in a house where you have your own children, biological children, and have them accept these children that you have to come in and foster?
I think I'm very blessed in the fact that I have very, very understanding children, very resilient children who appreciate me for the mother that I am. And in a way, my children have become almost like me. They're very caring children, which is a blessing for children who grow up abroad, because most children become, like you're saying, very self-centered because of the way the culture is. My motto has always been 1 is a million. So I've always embraced one person at a time if I can, because changing one person at a time, they go on to change other lives. I've always, what your parents tell you, if you lose sight of that, then you're lost. I've always held very tightly what my mother told me when I was young. Never change yourself for anybody. Never ever try to be somebody else. Be yourself no matter what situation you are in, be it good or bad. So I always remember who I am because it's made me the person I am. There's no point trying to be the next person because I don't know their circumstances. So yes, I believe strongly in sharing. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. So I'll never change that for anything. My house is almost always full, not only of kids, but people know me for the person I am, and my door is always open.
1 is a million. I don't think I'll forget that one. That's one takeaway for me from this discussion. So now, being in the UK, being a Zimbabwean, do you see, you've visited home now, you see the situation with children here. Do we need people like you, and how do we get people like you back home to help children here?
I think I'll go back to 1 is a million. I think we all underestimate the power we have within. I didn't have anything when I started out. We tend to make a mistake to say we need a lot of money to be able to help the next person. We don't necessarily need that. I started off with nothing, and I'm still able to change lives. So I would say I would actually challenge other ladies out there. If you can pick the motto 1 is a million, it doesn't matter what you've got. Material things don't build a child. It's the emotional input that will build the child. So if you can make that connection with the child, make them know it's okay, no matter how difficult life can be, you would have given them a world that they would treasure for life. You can buy me a Gucci shoe today, but I can be crying all night. But if you comfort me, you've given me love, I'll be better off without the Gucci shoe, but the love that you give me. So I would actually challenge all the other ladies out there to say, it's not a material thing. We've got it all within us. We can pick one child, one relative, one stranger who would have changed lives. So, I mean, the aim, I'm aiming to open an orphanage here with time, but obviously it's a work in progress. And I will shout out to other ladies out there. Why I say ladies, because I know women are strong when they stand together. I'm not by any means disregarding men, but at this point I'm reaching out to women because I know we make things move. Women make things move. So yes, let's work together. Let's build broken lives. Let's look around us. I know it's nice to have that extra watch, but do you really need it? Most of the times we don't.
Wow. Well, if you just joined us, you're tuned into the first episode of One on One with Amakhosikazi. This is where we give you an insight into the life of someone giving back to the community, a woman that is building humankind, whether in Zimbabwe or somewhere in the region or internationally. We seek to find out what makes them tick. And today we have Jennifer Lizzie Ngulube, a member of the British Empire, talking to us about the work she does in the UK. We'll be right back. Welcome back to One on One with Amakhosikazi, a program that seeks to give you an insight into women that are doing great work in their communities right here in Zimbabwe or internationally. And today we have a member of the British Empire, a sister, a mother, a member of our community here, who's now living in the UK and doing great work with children right there overseas. And we'd like to look at this book, Mam Ngulube, Sailing Through the Storms of Life. What inspired you to write this book?
What inspired me to write the book was that moment when I was stood face to face with Prince Charles. And it was an epic moment, but it's a moment that made me think of my journey to that moment. So the moment was wonderful, great.
It was surreal.
It was surreal. That's the word. But the work before that moment is very important. So I thought, let me put this together, so people just don't see that moment and think things have always been rosy, because we tend to see the final product. We tend to overlook, when you're being, when work is being done and you're struggling, people tend not to see that. But when you cross the bridge and you're on the other side, people see oh wow. But for me, the journey is very important. That moment is important, so is the journey. So
it's interesting that you took the opportunity to then tell us about your story. And this is Women's Month, where we're celebrating and learning about women that are making great strides and doing great things in the world. But also there are uncelebrated women that we would never know about, women that push other women up. And you talk about a number of them in your book. Can you tell us the importance of supporting each other as women? Often there is this cliche, pull her down syndrome. That is the cliche that almost every woman talks about when they come across failure. But what about those women that pull her up? Many of whom I find in your book.
I think we tend to look at positives a lot in life. For every positive, there's a negative. But I think it's just human nature that we sort of put our energies in the negatives. I tend to look at the positives a lot. There's a lot of negatives that I've gone through, and that try to find the message in the negative. The biggest woman that has made me the person I am is my mother. My mother, much as she still is not very well. We're lucky she's 87, but she is a very solid woman. She's a woman who had a vision for her children. I do mention that I wasn't the best learner, and my mom was able to sort of find my strengths and push me in the areas that I excelled. I've always modeled myself around her. Obviously, my siblings, and then there's my sister-in-law, who is, in today's language, I would say she's my do or die, or my what
your right hand. I don't say men. Yeah. Your right hand woman.
There's women that you can call on day or night. They'll answer yes. You don't get a no. So my sister-in-law, Jennifer Ngulube, is one of those women. She stood by me through thick and thin. My sisters have been my rock. I do have quite very solid friends around me as well. But obviously, with the work I do, I work with quite a lot of social workers, and I've built some very strong relationships with a lot of them. And I must applaud them, because they do a lot of, they change lives.
It's very interesting how you praise your sister-in-law. Taking it from our culture, the feuds that are often talked about between aunties and sisters-in-law, and how you have built a relationship that you say for you she's like your surreal rock.
She's my rock.
Yes, and she never says no to you. Can you tell us about, that whole phenomenon and changing the narrative of Omalukazana, Labo Auntie, and that it's not always bad. It can be wonderful, and it can actually build a person.
I think it doesn't necessarily have to be Omalukazana. I think it's appreciating another woman for who they are and putting them in their place. The problem we have as women is we're very competitive. And it's so bad. We pull each other down at whatever opportunity. And I elevate her as much as she elevates me. And as a result, we have a very healthy relationship that fits both of us. So I think really it's the way we need to look at other women around us. We need each other. There's no point putting each other down. If we fix each other's crowns, we all stand to get the best out of life. So I would say, regardless of who it is, as long as it's another woman, another human being, just put them in their place. Support them where they need to be supported, and you will get the best out of them. And life is like that.
So now, moving forward, what are the plans? What are your plans for the future? You've talked about opening an orphanage here in Zimbabwe. What else do you seek to do just to make sure that you touch more lives, you inspire more women to open up their hearts and be mothers to children that do not have?
I've actually launched my coaching business that I launched at the beginning of the year, Jennifer Lizzie Coaching. And I would ask anyone who feels the need to sort of get mentorship to get in touch. I'm there on Facebook. Sometimes we do have visions that we feel are bigger than us. There were times like that in my life where I felt like this is way too big for me. But it is sometimes just a confidence thing. Sometimes we need that person who sees the best in us, who make us keep going. So I'm available to mentor, to coach, personal development, parenting, coaching. So that's my passion at the moment. I'm also available for speaking events. I mean, at the moment, I'm reaching out to as many women.
And I know you had a number of speaking events lined up before the coronavirus hit and you have to rush back home. Can you tell us about what these speaking engagements seek to do or sought to do?
This speaking, because it's the Women's Month, the reason why I've just been speaking to women this month is to honor, them because it's their month. It's just to inspire each other, to say it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be imperfect. You are perfect in your imperfection. So just that sisterhood, just, I call it Sisters Without Borders.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just to feel each other, when we're struggling, to feel each other when things are okay, to celebrate when it's moments of celebration. So really, it's an inspirational journey to say it is what it is when you're struggling, but what is the message in it? You've got to sit and think, what is being said to me? No need to despair, ladies. We are stronger than we believe.
So besides Mom, who else inspires you out there that you wish to meet someday or that you watch from afar and wish to be like?
There is a lot of other strong women, of course. I mean, obviously, there is the Queen. Oh, she's
Tell us about the Queen.
She's my role model.
Have you met her in person?
Yes, of course.
Wow. How has that been?
She's, she's a giver. She's given her life. She's a very selfless individual. I think most people see the crown, but if you see the person behind the crown, she has given her whole life to good causes. She's my role model. There is a lot of other role models, of course, out there, and women who have selflessly given themselves. One of my biggest role models was Maya Angelou, because she raised herself from nothing. She was unapologetic about herself right up to the end, and she spoke truth. She would never put a mask on to try and make things look better. She would say them as they were. And as a result, I related to her a lot. She sort of gave me that inspiration to say, you know what, it's hard, but it will get better. And I'm not the only one who's struggling. So I do admire women who don't put a mask on, because the mask robs the woman who's struggling. Just take off the mask. Just be real. Say it as it is. Because out there's someone who's in the same position as you, who will be touched by where you were, see your journey, see your triumphs. But if you just show the triumph, the one who's struggling is being robbed of. Okay, there is hope. So women who don't put masks are my women. So let's talk of the masks, is not necessary.
Which of Maya Angelou's works is your favorite?
I am a woman, phenomenally woman.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
What are you reading at the moment?
Oh, I read a lot. I mean, obviously right now the book that's been doing its rounds is Becoming.
Oh, yes.
Becoming.
Yes. And it's inspired a lot of other becomings.
Yes. I mean, she's a role model.
Yes.
She's herself. She doesn't have a mask. She doesn't put a mask. Regardless of her having been in the White House,
She remains grounded.
She remains grounded. She doesn't discard her hardships. She's a self. So I mean, there's a lot of other women out there. I can't name them all, but as long as you take off your mask, you are my woman.
Wonderful. Where can people get Sailing Through the Storms?
Here in Zimbabwe at the Grand Vista, we still have copies that are coming this coming week. I would ask people to get in touch with yourself,
Okay,
because I'll give you the details. But anyone else, the book is available on Amazon. But I'm also coming back. I'm hoping to do another book show in Harare, Hwange, and a lot more other cities. It's not so much about the book. It's about sisters being together. So the book is giving us an excuse to get together and talk about things, which is precisely why I prefer to have other speakers, so it's not about myself. I feel like I'm a vehicle, just a vehicle to make other women realize they have power within themselves. Let's dig deep. We all have power. Let's find that power and use it.
Thank you so much. And maybe to wrap it all up, you have received accolade in the UK. We are now starting to get to know about you. I'm sure we wouldn't have known about you without this book, without the talks that you do. How much do you think we need to celebrate our own people and the work that they do?
A lot, because if we don't celebrate each other, who's going to celebrate us? And if we don't celebrate people who struggled and made it, we are robbing the younger generation, because they will know about, these phenomenal individuals. So yes, let's celebrate each other by whatever means. I went quiet for a few years because it's the work that I got honored for that comes first. Most people thought I would stop fostering, and I had so many offers. I had even television, shows looking out for me. But that's not my calling. My calling is being with the kids. So I've stayed with the job that got me to where I am, because that's where I am. So yeah, my heart is still there. Lots of traveling, but whenever I have time, I'll still go back and do what I do best.
Jennifer Lizzie Ngulube, thank you so much for making time to be with us today as you travel out today. We hope that you have a safe journey, and we look forward to having you back in Zimbabwe to teach us and inspire us some more.
You have taught me a lot myself, so we're learning from each other. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Well, this has been one-on-one with Amakhosikazi, where today we're giving you the first episode and talking to Jennifer Lizzie Ngulube, who is an author, a mother, a sister, and also a member of the British Empire, a Zimbabwean who's doing great works in the community internationally. And we'll be back next week with another special guest. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.